The moment the CEO's son told me to pack my things and give him my office, I knew this was not a promotion conversation. He walked in without knocking. 25 years old, designer suit. Confidence borrowed from someone else's name. He dropped into my chair like it was already his, crossed his legs on my desk, and said it again, slower this time, like I hadn't understood the first order. Pack your things, this office is mine now. I looked at him, not at his shoes on my desk or the smug tilt of his mouth, but at his eyes. He was enjoying this. That was the part that burned. My name is Luna, I said calmly. You're sitting in my chair, he laughed. Not anymore. My dad wants fresh energy. You've had your run. I didn't stand. I didn't raise my voice. I unlocked my phone and set it face up between us. He frowned. What are you doing? I pressed play. The video was short, no filters, no edits, just his voice, clear as glass, talking too freely at a company event he thought no one important attended, bragging, laughing, naming numbers, talking about company money like it was his allowance. His smile collapsed halfway through the clip. Turn that off, he snapped. Reaching for the phone, I slid it back toward myself. You already heard it. His face went pale. How dare you record me? I didn't record you, I said. You recorded yourself. He stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. You think this scares me, but his hands were shaking. He stormed out of my office without another word, footsteps pounding down the hall toward the parking garage. Toward the car he loved more than his job. I stayed seated, listening until the sound disappeared. I already knew how this part ended. The story you are about to hear is a fictional narrative developed by the Her Revenge writing team, while inspired by real workplace dynamics and power struggles. All characters, companies, and events have been created to explore themes of accountability, dignity, and quiet strength in the face of entitlement. Any resemblance to actual people or organizations is purely coincidental. I straightened the folder on my desk and locked my phone. Outside, I could hear raised voices beginning to ripple through the floor. Whatever he thought he owned was about to meet the rules he never bothered to learn. That office wasn't a trophy. It was a line I had drawn with my own hands. I earned it over 15 years of operations and compliance at a tech logistics firm in Austin that liked to pretend it moved fast while quietly relying on people like me to keep it from collapsing. I knew every vendor by first name, every access badge tier, every parking contract clause no one else bothered to read. Luna handles it, people used to say in meetings, and things stayed standing. The shift started when the founder stepped back. He shook my hand on his last day and said, "Keep them honest." Then his son showed up 3 weeks later with a grin and a slide deck titled, "Modernization, Temporary, Human Resources told us." Just until he finds his footing. His footing involved canceling contracts mid-cycle. "Why are we paying these vendors so much?" he asked one morning, tapping a spreadsheet. "They'll fall in line." "They won't," I said. "They have leverage." He smiled at me like I was being cute. "Everyone falls in line." Another day, he waved off a compliance review. "Rules slow innovation." "Luna, rules keep us operational," I said. He leaned closer. "You worry too much." Then the late approvals started. Expense reports that skipped steps. Security requests marked urgent with no explanation. I flagged them. He dismissed them. Legacy thinking. He called it in front of the team. I stopped being invited to meetings that mattered. Decisions landed already signed. Vendors began calling me after hours. Voices tight. He told us to invoice differently. One whispered, "Said you approved." "I didn't," I said. That office became the last place where my name still carried weight, where people came before things broke. So when he sat in my chair and told me to pack my things, it wasn't about square footage. It was about removing the one person who could still say no. I heard shouting echo from somewhere below, sharp and panicked. I stood, finally, and straightened the chair he had left askew. Whatever he ran toward wasn't going to save him. In meetings, he knew how to perform. He leaned back, smiled at the right moments, repeated phrases he'd heard somewhere else. Streamline, agility, disruption. People nodded because his last name made nodding feel safer than speaking. In private, he was careless. I started noticing the gaps before anyone else did. Expense reports approved after midnight, receipts uploaded late, then replaced with cleaner versions, a company credit card used for dinners that somehow matched the timing of his weekend parties. "You signed off on this," he said once. sliding a folder across the table. I didn't, I replied. He shrugged. Must have auto-routed. These systems are messy. They weren't messy. They were designed by people who assumed honesty. Then there were the cars, first a sports sedan, then a convertible, then the Lamborghini, parked where only executives were allowed to park. That thing cost more than my yearly budget. I said to Marcus from facilities one morning. Marcus lowered his voice. Don't say that too loud. Everyone knew. No one said anything. Fear did most of the work. Fear of the CEO. Fear of getting sidelined. Fear of being branded difficult, which in this building was a quiet death sentence. I felt it too. Every time I flagged something and he laughed it off. Every time I was told to trust leadership, I weighed the cost of pushing harder. I almost stayed quiet. The night everything changed was supposed to be harmless. A company-sponsored mixer, open bar, no formal agenda. I stayed late because vendors were there. And vendors talk when they think no one important is listening. He didn't see me standing near the back. He didn't notice my phone on the table beside me. He talked like the building belonged to him already, like money moved because he snapped his fingers, like compliance was a joke told for his amusement. I didn't plan to record him. I planned to go home. But when he laughed and said my name out loud, twisted into a punchline, I pressed the button. That was the moment I stopped disappearing. I didn't show him the whole thing in my office. I didn't need to. What I played for him was less than 20 seconds. His voice, unfiltered, too loud, too confident. You just roll the cost into corporate, he said on the recording, laughing. It's not my money. It's the company's. That's what it's there for. A pause. Glass clinking. And compliance, he added. They'll sign whatever's routed to them, or I'll make sure it never reaches their desk. Someone off camera laughed. Someone else asked about the car. The Lamborghini, he said. Relax. It's temporary. I'll keep it under the company umbrella until things settle. My dad won't care. That was all I let play. In the office, he stared at my phone like it had bitten him. That's taken out of context, he said quickly. You can't use that. I didn't say I would, I replied. I said you should listen to it. He scoffed, but his voice cracked. You think this proves something? It proves how comfortable you were, I said. That's usually enough to start asking questions. I didn't explain the rest. I didn't tell him the video was recorded at a company-sponsored event, in a space legally considered semi-public. I didn't explain that the timestamp matched approved expense logs. I didn't mention the backup stored off my phone, or the second copy sent through a secure channel days before. You have no idea who you're messing with, he said. Standing too close now. I do, I said quietly. That's why I'm still sitting. When he ran, it wasn't because the video was illegal. It was because it was real. Because he knew exactly who else would recognize his voice, his words, his arrogance. I locked my screen after he left and slid the phone into my drawer. The evidence wasn't meant to destroy him on its own. It was meant to make him move. And he already had. I didn't follow him downstairs. But I didn't need to. My phone buzzed before I even left my office. Luna, said Ben from building security. His voice was tight, professional. We have a situation in the garage. I know, I said. Lane 3. There was a pause. He's demanding access. He can demand, I replied. That doesn't change the status. I took the elevator down anyway. By the time I stepped into the garage, the CEO's son was already there. Standing beside the Lamborghini like proximity alone could save it. This is ridiculous. He snapped at Ben. Move the barrier. Ben didn't move. The vehicle is temporarily restricted, sir. By who? The son barked. Ben glanced at his tablet. Internal review. Expense verification. The son laughed, sharp and hollow. That car is mine. It's leased under a corporate account, Ben said evenly. Pending review. Access is frozen. I stopped a few steps away. He saw me then, and something ugly crossed his face. You did this, he said. You don't have the authority. I don't need authority, I said. I need documentation. He turned red. You think this makes you powerful, no? I said. I think it makes the process visible. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're making a mistake. I flagged the lease 6 months ago. I said, you approved it yourself, routed it around compliance. Remember? Ben cleared his throat. Sir, we're going to need you to step back from the vehicle. The son pulled his phone out and stabbed at the screen. I'm calling my father. I assumed you would, I said. He walked away, pacing, shouting into the phone. I caught fragments, insane, overstepping. Fix this. Ben leaned toward me. Do we escalate? Not yet, I said. Just log everything. He nodded. Already done. The barrier stayed down. The Lamborghini stayed dark and silent. And the building, for the first time in weeks, followed the rules without asking who his father was. The CEO arrived 10 minutes later, breathless and furious. His tie loosened like he'd run instead of walked. What is going on? He demanded. Eyes locked on me. Why is my son being blocked from company property? Because the vehicle is under review, I said. And because you approved the process that allows it, he scoffed. This is absurd, Luna, you've overstepped. I handed him the folder I'd brought down from my office. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. He flipped through the pages. Expense approvals with timestamps. Routing logs. Compliance notes he had never read. His jaw tightened. This doesn't prove anything, he said. It proves exposure, I replied. And it proves notice. His son stepped in. She's bluffing. She recorded me without consent. I met the CEO's eyes. The recording was made at a company-sponsored event, in a shared space. It was forwarded to internal audit 3 days ago, before today. He froze. Audit already has this? Yes. The silence stretched. The sun shifted, suddenly uncertain. You didn't tell me that, the CEO said slowly. Turning to him, it's nothing, his son snapped. She's exaggerating. I slid one more document forward. These are the lease details for the vehicle. The account is corporate. Any irregularity becomes your liability. The CEO exhaled through his nose. Long and controlled. This is becoming a problem. It already is. I said, I didn't make it public. I followed procedure. He looked around the garage, at security, at the car, at his son who no longer looked confident. Go upstairs, the CEO told him. What his son said. Now, after he left, the CEO stayed behind. If I fix this, he said quietly, will it stop? I met his gaze. That depends on whether you fix the cause or just the noise. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower. Leave the car where it is, he said. I'll speak with legal, as he walked away. The weight of the building seemed to shift. Something had cracked, not loudly, but deeply enough that it wouldn't seal back up. By noon, the building stopped pretending nothing was wrong. Compliance locked the finance system first. Legal followed, then audit. Access disappeared in layers, quiet and methodical. No alarms, no announcements. Just screens refreshing to error messages and doors that no longer recognize certain badges. This is temporary, someone from legal said into the speakerphone. Her name was Dana. Calm voice, precise words. Please don't attempt to reroute approvals. I didn't, the CEO's son said. This is overkill. Dana didn't respond to him. All vendor payments are paused pending verification. My phone lit up with messages. Vendors I had warned months ago were suddenly polite and nervous. Luna, should we be concerned? We were told to change our invoicing. Are we still getting paid? Hold, I told them. Document everything in the garage. The Lamborghini was no longer just restricted. Ben handed me the notice. Vehicle held for financial review, he said, effective immediately. The son stood there, staring at the paper like it was written in another language. You can't just take it. Ben's tone never changed. We're not taking it. We're retaining it. 2 people from human resources arrived with him minutes later. They didn't touch him. They didn't argue. Please come with us, one said. We need to collect your badge. This is humiliating, he hissed, looking around for witnesses. No one met his eyes. They walked him to the elevator. No shouting, no spectacle. Just doors closing and the space he'd occupied going suddenly hollow. Upstairs, desks shifted. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Calendars were quietly cleared. The CEO passed me in the hallway once. He didn't slow down. He didn't speak. I returned to my office and closed the door, not to hide, but to listen. The building had a new rhythm now, slower, careful. Power didn't vanish with noise. It left like a tide pulling back, exposing everything it had been covering. By the end of the day, his name no longer routed anything, and nothing collapsed without him there. The call came after sunset. Luna, the CEO said, no title, no edge. We need your help. I let the silence stretch before answering. With what, exactly? With stabilizing things, he said. Legal is overwhelmed. Vendors are unsettled. The board wants clarity. They want control, I replied. Clarity is just the word they use when they've lost it. He exhaled. You understand the systems better than anyone. I understand where they break, I said. That's different. Another pause. Then, quieter. What would it take? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't list grievances. I spoke the way I always had when something mattered. I want an independent role, I said. Operational oversight across compliance, facilities, and vendor authorization, direct reporting to the board. No approvals routed through you or your son. That's a lot of authority, he said. It's the authority I've been exercising without protection, I answered. Now it needs a name. And your office, he asked. I don't want that office, I said. I want the ability to say no without being erased. He hesitated. The board won't like this. They already don't like the alternative, I said. His voice dropped. If we agree, can you stop this from escalating? I didn't start it, I said. But I can contain it. There was movement on the line, muffled voices. I recognized one from audit, another from legal. Send the terms, he said finally. We'll review, I'll have them to you by morning. I replied. Before he hung up, he added, You knew this would end here. I looked at my desk. At the space where my phone had been earlier, I knew it would end somewhere honest. The line went dead. I didn't feel victorious. I felt steady. For the first time in a long while, the ground wasn't shifting under my feet. I didn't move back into my old office. Facilities sent an email asking where I wanted to relocate. They attached a floor plan with options highlighted in blue. I chose a smaller room on the other side of the building, closer to compliance and audit. No view, no status attached to it. Are you sure? Marcus from Facilities asked when he came by with the keys. That corner office is still available. I'm sure, I said. Leave it as it is. He nodded, like he understood more than he said. The old office stayed empty. Desk cleared, chair pushed in. No name on the door. People walked past it slower than usual, like the space might still speak if someone listened hard enough. The Lamborghini never came back to the garage. Legal finished their review, then started another. Paperwork stalled. Ownership questions dragged. It sat in secured storage, untouched. A problem no one wanted to rush. His status changed quietly. First on leave, then his badge stopped working. His calendar disappeared from the system. No announcement, no farewell email. I passed his father once near the elevators. He looked older than he had a week earlier. Things are settling, he said, not meeting my eyes. They always do, I replied. After the noise, in my new office, Dana from legal stopped by with a folder. Board signed off, she said. Reporting lines are updated. Thank you, I said. She hesitated. For what it's worth. This should have happened a long time ago. I know, I said. It usually doesn't. When she left, I shut the door and sat down. The desk was plain. The chair didn't squeak. Nothing in the room announced who I was supposed to be. And for the first time, that felt like control. Down the hall, someone laughed. Phones rang. Work continued. The building didn't miss him. It didn't miss the office either. The CEO stopped by my new office a few days later. No assistants. No schedule block. Just him, standing in the doorway like a man measuring a room he no longer controlled. You didn't have to stay, he said. I didn't, I replied. I chose to. He nodded once. The board approved the changes. Full authority, direct reporting, legal signed off. I saw, I said. He lingered. My son won't be returning, I know. There was nothing else to say. He left without offering his hand, and I didn't offer mine. People adjusted faster than I expected. Processes ran cleaner. Vendors stopped whispering and started sending clean invoices again. Meetings ended on time. No one asked whose name was on the door anymore. They asked who could solve the problem. One afternoon, Ben from security passed by and smiled. Garage is quiet these days. It usually is, I said. The Lamborghini stayed where it was, not as a trophy, not as a warning, just as an unresolved asset waiting for paperwork and consequences. It had lost its power the moment it stopped moving. I locked my office door at the end of the day, not because I was afraid of someone taking my space, but because I finally had work worth protecting. Silence settled the way it does when things are stable. He thought ownership came from sitting higher, speaking louder, taking first. He thought power was something you claimed. I learned a long time ago that power is something you build, quietly, carefully. In places, no one looks until something breaks. I didn't ruin him. I didn't chase him out. I stayed. Titles can be handed down, cars can be leased, and offices can be taken. But the people who understand how the system actually works will always outlast the ones who only know how to sit on top of it.